Hello everyone, my name is Elise. I'm with 18 Reasons, and today we're going to be talking and cooking super easy, super versatile potato, apple, and greens breakfast hash. Now, this recipe is very simple. You can use basically whatever vegetables are in your fridge. So today, you need a potato. I'm using a Yukon Gold. A couple chunks of apple, another chunk of an onion. This is about a quarter of an onion. Using a little chunk of carrot. You can also use bell pepper. Celery is really delicious. I don't have either, so I'm going to use a carrot for a little extra health. Clove of garlic, if you have it. Ground garlic or dry garlic also works really great. And some type of green. So you can use, this is Swiss chard, this is rainbow chard. You can also use kale, you can use spinach, you can use collard greens. Just adds a little extra fiber and a lot of really good nutrients to it too. So this is a really great breakfast. This is a really great dinner, lunch, just because it's full of really delicious vegetables, a little bit of fruit, so you get a little sweetness in there too. And it's also really hearty. So along with those vegetables, you're also going to need some olive oil or any kind of oil that you have in your house. A little bit of salt, some red pepper flakes if you like it spicy, and some pepper. In terms of equipment, you're just going to need a chef's knife, cutting board, and saute pan and spatula. So that's where we're going to cook all the good stuff. So in order to start, we're going to take my pan all the way over to my stove, because cooking is mostly about multitasking. So as we are getting stuff ready, I'm going to go ahead and start preheating my stove or my pan on medium-low heat, because this is going to get the pan nice and ready to cook. As that's heating, I'm going to come back over here. We're going to start slicing some stuff up. Now the first things that are going to go into our pan once it's ready are, we're going to cook down our greens because they can take a little while, since greens have a lot of fiber in them, so you need that heat to really break it down. Next up, we gotta cook our potato, because this is what a hash is made out of. So we're gonna start cutting that because it's really hearty. It also needs more time to cook down, as well as our onion and our garlic, because these are your flavors. These are gonna meld together and make everything else taste delicious. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna start chopping our onion. Now the onion, if you notice, cut it and then this root end is still on right here. That will keep the whole onion together all the time, so you're not losing pieces of onions. Remove the paper outside, and let's get this view down to the onion, shall we? So we're going to lay this flat. Then from here, you're actually going to go ahead and slice off that root end after you peel it off. From there, you're going to cut a couple of slices down all the way across the onion. Rotate it again. Chop it. It's going to fall into beautiful, it's going to fall into beautiful squares if it doesn't slip out of your hand like it did just now. So this is how we're going to start. We're going to start with that onion. Now, because this onion is chopped, we want to start extracting these flavors, which is also called sweating the onion. So we're going to take our board with our onion, our olive oil, take it over to the stove. Now over at the stove, we're going to pour in a good glug of our olive oil here. Now it looks like a lot, but it's going to add a little bit extra flavor, give it a nice little crunch. As our pan is heating up, we also want to start heating up our oil, getting it ready. If your oil is too cold when you start cooking, your food will actually just absorb the oil and not cook as well, so you're just going to be stuck with a soggy, greasy mess. This way, the moment the onions hit the oil, you'll start hearing it sizzle. That's how you know it's cooking. So our oil is starting to move around much faster, sort of like water, yeah? And then we're going to throw in our onions. There we go. So we're going to leave those stirred a little bit so it gets nice and coated. Then we're going to bring it back to our cutting space. Next up, we're going to start cutting our collard greens here, or our Swiss chard. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, bunch them up all with the leaves, just like that. Chop off the stems. So the stems will cook at a much different rate than the leaves because the stems are a lot stronger. Cut off these kind of ugly sides down here. And we're just going to line them up all nice like that. Thinly slice these. Now if you notice, at the very start before I started cooking, I had all of my ingredients out in front of me. This is something called mise en place, which means everything in its place. So whenever you start cooking, it's really good to get all of your ingredients out and ready to go, because that way you don't have to waste time looking for it. It's all right in front of you. You can just focus on cutting and cooking the things that you need to do. Now after we chop this, we're going to chop our leaves into something called a chiffonade, which is a super fancy French word called ribbons. So you're going to take each leaf right here, stack each leaf on top of each other, turn it around, roll it all together so it's in a beautiful tight bundle like so. From your bundle, you'll just start chopping slices all the way down your vegetable. I can smell my onions cooking. That's how you know they're starting to sweat, getting nice and fragrant. And this, you can see it's starting to fall down in these really, really cool ribbons like that too. Once I have this chopped, I'm going to take it over and check on my onions. Onions are getting shiny, nice and fragrant. We're just going to slide this in here. Let it start joining together, sauteing together. This, you want your heat maybe around medium or so. Nothing too hot, nothing too cold. Just right, because we want that heat to start breaking down those strong fibers. Give it a good stir. Make sure that oil and those onions are getting everywhere with the greens. There we go. Cool. Make sure we're getting all the stuff on the side here. Bringing it back. Except we're going to start cutting our potato. Now the potato can be kind of in any shape you want. The smaller the potato pieces, the faster it'll cook. So I'm going to want little cubes. Now when we cut, it's important because the potatoes kind of rolling around can go anywhere. We're going to cut this in a flat surface. So you're going to take a tunnel grip with your thumb and the rest of your fingers. You're going to clamp it down. See how it makes a tunnel? Slide my knife right in between, go down. Now we have two flat sides. These aren't going to go anywhere. From here, we're going to cut maybe 5 slices, it looks like. Maybe pretty small. And then rotate again, start cutting into the size piece that I would like. And this is called a dice. Because they're supposed to come out kind of like cubes. Mine are a little more rectangular. But if you think about like when you play a board game, how you have a board game dice, it's generally what they're talking about when they ask you to dice things. But you can always decide if you want things bigger or smaller. So I got my potatoes cut. I'm going to take this over to our greens. Give this a good old stir. I hope you can hear the sizzle because it sounds really good while it's sizzling. Everything is starting to cook down. Now that we have all of our main vegetables in, we're going to add a little pinch of salt. Now salt will start drawing out extra water and extra moisture from the vegetables and will actually help it cook a little bit faster. Now you don't want to add too much because you don't want all your flavor to go in right now. You just want enough to get some of that extra liquid out. See if we can break this up. All right, so I'm gonna leave this to cook for a little bit. Now to keep cooking it, we're actually, keep cooking it, we're gonna add another little splash of water, because this will actually steam your vegetables, and steam is much hotter than boiling water. So this will also help your potatoes cook a little bit faster. Give that a good stir, get that steam everywhere. And we are just gonna let that do its merry little thing. While we got our potatoes cooking, let's start cutting the rest of our ingredients. So we got a carrot. A carrot is also a pretty hard vegetable, so we're gonna cut it the same way we cut a potato, into pretty small pieces. Cut it down the middle with our tunnel grip again. Nice flat pieces like that. I'm gonna actually cut it into quarters. So I'm gonna want it pretty small. From here, I'm gonna cut it into very small, thin slices. So I want this to cook pretty fast. Carrots also have a lot of sugar in it. They're actually a pretty sweet vegetable. So when you cut it smaller, as it releases its water, it'll also release a little bit of sweetness there too, continuing to flavor your hash. While our potatoes are cooking, we're going to start cutting our apple. The apple, we're going to want to dice it. Again, so I have a piece of like this. I'm going to cut it in half. Again, I'm going to cut those strips. Rotate it again. It's going to fall away into really nice little cubes. I really like apple and breakfast hash because I think the sweetness is delicious. Gives it a little pop. It's also a good way to get a little extra fruit and some more nutrients and fiber into your dish. Granted, this whole dish is fiber and vegetables, but any way that you can add more fruits and vegetables in your day-to-day is a success. All right, so I got my apples, I got my carrots. Last thing we got to do is get our garlic. The garlic still has the peel on here. Best way to do, put it on your cutting board, knife on top, give it a good smash. And the peel will just come off pretty nicely on its own, like that. From there, just gonna slice this garlic. Nothing fancy, just a nice little slice, break it down. The harder you smash it, the more it'll spread out. So the less work you'll actually have to do while you're cutting it. So if you can see here, it's starting to break into much smaller pieces, even though I just cut it as a slice. All right, we're ready to move back to our stove. Gonna give it a nice little scrape on the bottom. This is a non-stick pan, so things will get a little sticky sometimes. If you have a non-stick, that works great. If you don't, you can join me where I'm at. All right, as this is starting to cook really nicely, add everything else that we cut. So our carrots are going, oh, got a little apple that jumped ship. Our carrots are going in, our apples are following the carrots, and our garlic is going in last. And we're gonna give this a nice stir all together. Now from this point on, you just kind of let it be, let it cook, let it reduce, let all those flavors become friends, and they'll all come together into something beautiful. You can see there are also a lot of colors, really great color variation in this. It's a good baseline for when you're cooking. You want to try to get as many different colors in your food as you can, because each color will have a different type of nutrient in it. So instead of trying to remember what each specific vitamin or mineral is telling you to do or is supposed to do in your body, just think about the colors. The more colors you have, the more essential nutrients you're going to have in your body, the better you're going to feel at the end of the day. While that's cooking down, I'm going to hit it with a little bit more salt. Do one more sprinkle, taste it again before you salt it. You don't want to over salt. You can always under salt, you can always add more salt, but you can never take salt away. Hit it with a couple cracks of pepper. And lastly, I like mine a little spicy, so we're gonna spice it up here with these red chili flakes. Just stir this all together. Now your target really here is you want your potatoes to be soft and cooked. Once those are done, then you're pretty much done with the whole dish. If you want to cook it a little bit longer, you want the rest of your vegetables a little softer, that is completely okay as well. I'm going to go ahead, leave this, and let this cook for a little bit longer. All right, so this is starting to settle down now. It's looking good, it's tasting good. Potatoes are much softer. If you can see, I can take my spatula and just cut into it. No problem, that's how you know they're done. All right. Whoop. Dropping that stuff. Taking it back over here. Just pouring it out. All right, y'all. So my hash is done. My potatoes are cooked. Smells delicious, looks delicious. I have it all plated out here. You can go ahead and cook some eggs, throw it on top for breakfast, melt some cheese over it, put it in a tortilla for a burrito, quesadilla. Really, really versatile, really delicious. You can eat it any time of the day, full of your vegetables. And we made this in 15 minutes. So I hope you try this at home. If you do, go ahead and shoot us an email, send us a shout out on social media at 18 Reasons. Let us know how it turned out. And I hope to see you again soon. Happy cooking, y'all.